What happens when the man who built 11 thriving summer camps from scratch realizes he no longer knows what's happening in his own kitchens? Quinn Keller stood at the edge of the lake, clipboard in hand, watching a group of kids splash around in neon life vests. The air smelled like pine and sunscreen. This was Camp Cedar Rock, one of the 11 summer camps he'd built over 15 years. It was the third camp he opened and one of the busiest, but lately something felt off. He'd been getting vague reports: staff turnover, some parents asking for refunds, a dip in returning campers. His district manager, Julian, chalked it up to typical summer chaos, but Quinn didn't buy it. He hadn't been to Cedar Rock in over 3 years. The director had changed twice since then, and the kitchen staff had turned over completely. He'd never met most of them, so he made a decision. He'd go undercover. He shaved his beard, dyed his hair darker, and wore thick black-rimmed glasses. He created a fake name, Robbie, and signed up to work in the camp kitchen as a new seasonal hire. He told the director he was looking for summer work while figuring life out after a rough patch. It wasn't hard to sell. Kitchens everywhere were short-staffed. The director, a distracted woman named Leslie, nodded and said, "You're breathing, that's good enough for me." That first morning, Quinn Robbie stepped into the kitchen at 5:45 a.m. The air was thick with grease and sweat. A stocky man in his 40s with a backwards cap and a cigarette behind his ear barked, "You the new guy?" "Yes, sir." "Robbie," Quinn said, trying to sound nervous. "Name's Trent. Head cook." "Don't get in my way and don't touch the grill unless I tell you." The kitchen was loud, chaotic, and clearly understaffed. 2 teens were rushing to prep fruit trays, and a young woman with a ponytail was arguing with Trent about the eggs. "They're still runny in the middle, Trent." "They're fine, Maya," he snapped. "Campers don't care." Maya looked over at Quinn and shook her head. "They're 12, not pigs." Quinn watched her quietly. She looked maybe 20, hands moving fast, eyes scanning everything. She was the only one double-checking temperatures, wiping down surfaces, actually caring. Breakfast was scrambled eggs, sausage, and toast. Quinn was assigned toast duty. He watched as Trent dumped giant trays of half-cooked eggs into steam pans and wheeled them to the dining hall. "Is this normal?" Quinn asked Maya. She hesitated. "Yeah, unfortunately," he frowned. "Isn't that dangerous?" "Yup, I've told Leslie. She says we're short-staffed and need to keep moving." He didn't like it. Not just the food, but the atmosphere. The 2 teens, Zach and Leela, were constantly yelled at by Trent. Maya was doing 3 people's jobs. And Trent. He disappeared for 20-minute smoke breaks every hour, then came back to bark orders. After lunch, Quinn sat on a bench near the mess hall, scribbling notes in a small notebook. He felt sick. The chicken had been pink in the middle. He'd watched Trent wave it off, saying, "It'll finish cooking in the pan." 2 kids had pushed it aside on their plates. One counselor had quietly thrown hers away. Quinn knew the risks: Salmonella, E. coli. If a kid got sick, it would destroy everything he'd built. At dinner, it got worse. They were making burgers. The grill was overloaded, patties were thick, and Trent was flipping them too soon. Maya tried to intervene. "They're raw in the middle. They'll cook while they sit in the warmer," Trent snapped. "They won't hit temp," she insisted. "We need the thermometer." Trent snatched it from her. "I said they're fine." Quinn's stomach turned. He watched a 10-year-old bite into a burger and frown. A counselor noticed and took it away. That night, Quinn walked to the staff cabins, heart pounding. He knew what he had to do. He knocked on Maya's door. She opened it, looking surprised. "Hey," he said, "can I talk to you?" Sure. Inside, her bunk was neat. A small fan hummed in the corner. "I'm not who I said I am," Quinn said, removing his glasses. "My name is Quinn Keller. I built these camps." Her eyes widened. "What?" "I came undercover to see what was really going on, and what I saw today, it can't go on." She sat down slowly. "You saw the food." "I did." "Then you know I've been trying for weeks." "I saw that too." She looked down. "I almost quit last week, but I didn't want to leave the kids." He nodded. "You shouldn't have to deal with this. Tomorrow, things are going to change." But I need to see how deep this goes. One more day, then I'll fix it, she nodded. Okay. As he left her cabin, he felt a wave of guilt. He should have seen this sooner. He'd trusted reports, numbers, people like Julian, but tomorrow he'd confront it all. He owed it to Maya. He owed it to the kids. At 5:30 the next morning, Quinn stood outside the kitchen door, waiting for someone to unlock it. The air was cool and damp, the sky still a deep blue. Maya arrived 5 minutes later, keys jangling on her wrist, eyes red from too little sleep. "Didn't think you'd show up early," she said, unlocking the door. "I couldn't sleep much either," he replied. Inside, the lights buzzed to life, revealing the same mess they'd left behind: grease spots on the floor, a sticky prep counter, and a mop still leaning against the wall. Maya tossed her bag into the corner and pulled her apron over her head. "Zach and Leila aren't scheduled until 6, she said. "Trent told them they could come in late since we're doing cereal and fruit today. Because lazy prep means less work," said Quinn, opening the fridge. It was worse than he thought. The containers were unlabeled, chicken from the night before was shoved beside raw eggs, and a tray of uncovered sausage links sat directly under a leaking shelf. Maya peered in. "I've stopped eating here. I bring protein bars." Quinn stepped back, jaw tight. This is a liability waiting to explode. At 6, Zach arrived, earbuds in, yawning. He mumbled a greeting and headed for the sink without looking up. Leila came in a few minutes later, her arm wrapped in a makeshift bandage. "What happened?" Meyer asked. Leila shrugged. "Burned it yesterday." The grill handle was loose again. "You didn't say anything?" "I told Trent. He said to be more careful, said we'd deal with it after lunch." Quinn watched her try to hold a knife properly with one hand. "You need to get that looked at." "I can't afford to go home." "I lose this job, I lose rent for July." Maya gently took the knife from her. "Go to the nurse after you finish the fruit. I'll cover your station." Leila hesitated, then nodded. Quinn pulled Maya aside. "How often does that kind of thing happen?" "Too often. No training, cheap equipment." "Trent doesn't log injuries." "Then the director's in the dark." Maya gave a dry laugh. "Leslie doesn't come in here. She eats with the admin staff." By 7, the kitchen was noisy with clattering trays and the hum of the industrial toaster. Trent strolled in 10 minutes late, coffee in hand. "Morning, slackers," he said, tossing his keys onto the prep table. "What's the damage?" "Nobody cut themselves yet," Zach muttered under his breath. Trent didn't hear or didn't care. He checked the cereal dispensers, then barked, "Maya, we oughta Raisin Bran. We're out of 3 cereals." "I put in a request last week. Didn't go through." "I followed the order protocol. If it didn't go through, it's because no one processed it." Trent rolled his eyes. "Then improvise." Quinn stepped forward. "Why don't we rotate between the ones we have so we don't run out all at once?" Trent turned. "Did I ask for your input?" Maya shot Quinn a warning glance. Quinn held his ground. "You didn't." "But the kids will notice if breakfast is just Cheerios for 4 days." Trent stared at him for a moment, then laughed. "New guy thinks he's clever." He walked off without another word. As the campers poured into the dining hall, counselors tried to keep order. A boy complained his milk was warm. A girl pointed out mold on a strawberry. Maya quickly swapped trays, apologizing to the counselor. Trent didn't look up from his clipboard. After breakfast, Leslie appeared in the kitchen for the first time. Dressed in a crisp polo and khakis, she looked completely out of place among the sweat and noise. "Trent," she said, "we need to talk about the food ordering system. I got a parent complaint about a kid not getting a vegetarian option yesterday. I told you we don't have the staff to do special plates." Leslie frowned. "You're supposed to log dietary needs and prep ahead. Then get me more people. You were supposed to onboard 2 last week. They ghosted." Quinn stood nearby, listening. Leslie noticed him. "You're the new one," she said. "Robbie, right?" He nodded. "Settling in okay, still learning the ropes." She gave a polite nod and turned back to Trent. "I want those logs updated today." Yeah. He waved her off. She left without checking the fridge, the equipment, or the people. Maya shook her head. That's the extent of her oversight. At lunch, they prepared pasta. Trent handled the sauce, dumping canned tomatoes into a pot with frozen meat. He didn't defrost it first. Maya tried to intervene. You need to thaw that or it won't cook evenly. It'll boil. That's enough. It's not safe. Then don't eat it, Quinn stepped in. She's right, that's a health risk. Trent turned, nostrils flaring. You know what's a risk? People who walk in here and think they know everything because they Googled a food safety chart. Or people who ignore every rule and put kids at risk. Trent stepped closer. You got something to say it. I'm saying you're not fit to run this kitchen. Maya grabbed Quinn's arm. Not here. He stepped back, jaw clenched. That afternoon, Quinn walked to the main office. He knocked once, then entered. Leslie looked up from her laptop. Robbie, he closed the door. My name's Quinn Keller, she stared. What? I own this camp. I've been undercover in your kitchen for 2 days. She stood, mouth slightly open. Wait, what? I've seen enough. Raw food, unsafe equipment, no injury reports, staff being mistreated. You've ignored every warning sign. Her face flushed. I trusted Trent. He said things were under control. You never checked. You never stepped into the kitchen. I had other responsibilities, not more important than child safety. She sat down heavily. I didn't know it was this bad. That's negligence. Effective immediately, Trent is terminated. You're on probation. I'll be bringing in a compliance officer by morning. Leslie nodded slowly, shell-shocked. Understood. Quinn left the office and walked back to the kitchen. Trent was on his phone, feet propped on a crate. Trent. He looked up lazily. Yeah, you're done. What? I'm the owner. I've seen everything. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. You endangered kids. You ignored complaints. You're finished here. For a moment, Trent looked like he might argue. Then he scoffed, stood, and walked out without another word. The kitchen fell silent. Zach stared. Maya stood frozen, knife still in hand. Quinn turned to her. We're bringing in help, real help, but I need you to stay. She blinked. You're actually fixing it? Starting now, she looked at the others. Then I'm in. There were no cheers. Just tired nods, relief etched into faces too young to be this burned out. Quinn reached for a pair of gloves and stepped back into the dish pit. They had a long way to go. But the silence in that kitchen felt different now, less like exhaustion, more like the breath before a shift. The next morning, Quinn arrived before dawn, this time wearing his own face. No disguise. No apron. Just a navy polo with the camp's logo stitched on the chest and a clipboard under his arm. The kitchen door was ajar. Maya had already let herself in and was setting up a station in the far corner. She looked up when he entered, then back down without saying anything. Her shoulders were tighter than the day before. Morning, he said. She nodded. We're short again. Leela's out. Byrne got infected. Nurse sent her home. Quinn set the clipboard on the counter. I approved a temp from the city, food safety certified. She should be on site by lunch. I want you to supervise her onboarding. I've never trained someone before. You don't need to. Just make sure she knows where everything is. She'll take the lead on prep once she's settled. Maya wiped her hands on a towel. That'll help. Zach arrived not long after, dragging a crate of milk cartons from the back. He glanced at Quinn, then away. Everyone knew who he was now, and the mood was heavier for it. Quinn didn't expect smiles. He just wanted movement. By 7, the new hire showed up. Alicia, mid-30s, hair tied up in a tight bun, black bag slung over one shoulder. She walked briskly, eyes scanning the room as Meyer introduced her to the layout. Within 5 minutes, she had gloves on and was slicing bell peppers with clean, practiced motions. Quinn watched from the edge. When Maya leaned in to ask if she needed anything, Alicia just said, label gun and the cooler codes, I'll handle the rest. Progress. Leslie was in the office when Quinn stepped in. She looked up from a stack of forms. I've contacted the regional health inspector, he said. We're doing a full audit next week. You'll be present. She nodded. Understood. No excuses. If something's flagged, I want it corrected same day. I'll clear my schedule. You'll also be allocating budget for new refrigeration units at this location. Finalize quotes by Friday. She hesitated. That wasn't in the original capital plan. It is now. She didn't argue further. Quinn turned to leave, then paused. Also, I want a written report on every injury logged this summer. If it's not complete, say so in writing. That afternoon, he met with the maintenance supervisor, an older man named Glenn who'd worked for the camp since its first year. They walked through the kitchen together. Trent didn't report any equipment issues, Glenn said, checking the hinges on the walk-in freezer. Just told us to leave it alone unless it stops running. Quinn pointed to the grill. Handle's loose. It burned one of the staff. Glenn crouched to inspect it. The bolts are stripped. Should have been replaced weeks ago. Take it offline until it's fixed, he nodded. I'll pull it after dinner. As Glenn packed up his tools, Alicia approached with a clipboard. Need to reorder produce. The lettuce we got yesterday was already turning. Where'd it come from? Quinn asked. She flipped the page. Vendors marked as Danner Distribution, not one of ours. Then someone switched suppliers. Quinn ran a hand over his jaw. I'll dig into the invoices. He spent the next 2 hours in the admin trailer, cross-checking delivery slips with the camp's approved vendor list. Danner wasn't on it, but 3 deliveries had come from them in the past month. Paid in cash, Julian's name was on the approval line. Quinn didn't wait. He called him. You signed off on a vendor that's not registered with our system, he said as soon as Julian answered. Julian hesitated. We had shortages. I made a call. You didn't run it past procurement or me. It was a local guy, said he could get us what we needed fast. Did you verify certifications? Honestly, no, but the price was good. Quinn's tone hardened. You've been approving off-book vendors for food in a camp full of children. It was one time, 3 deliveries, all paid in cash. Julian went quiet. You're suspended, effective immediately. I'll be reviewing every expense under your name this month. I was just trying to keep things running. You put kids at risk. That's not leadership. That's negligence. He hung up. Back at the kitchen, Maya was reviewing portion sizes with Alicia when Quinn returned. Just got off a call, he said. We're cutting ties with Danner. All produce from today's delivery is being tossed. Maya blinked. That's half our prep. I know, we'll run a limited menu for dinner. Alicia's already working on a backup plan. Alicia didn't look up. Roasted squash, lentils, and rice. It's what we've got left that's clean, Quinn nodded. That's the dinner. The camp's logistics coordinator, a wiry man named Rob, helped haul the suspect produce to a dumpster by the loading area. Quinn oversaw every box. Back inside, Zach came up to him, fidgeting with a towel. Can I ask you something? Go ahead. Are we getting someone permanent in? Like a manager, or is this all gonna fall back on Meyer again? Quinn looked over at her. She was walking Alicia through the dry storage inventory, her voice low but steady. We're hiring a full-time kitchen lead, he said. Someone trained with experience. Mai's been holding this place together, but that's not her job. She deserves better. Zach nodded. She does. Before dinner service, Quinn gathered the kitchen staff out back near the propane tanks. They stood in a loose semicircle, eyes tired but alert. I'm not here for applause, he began. I came because I stopped trusting the reports I was getting, and I was right not to. No one spoke. The only sound was the hum of a cicada in the distance. I saw what you've been asked to work through. Unsafe equipment, missing protocols, no support. That ends now. Alicia stood with her arms crossed. Maya glanced at her shoes. You've all stepped up in ways no one had the right to ask of you. And you did it anyway. That says a lot about your character. Zach shifted. What about people who didn't step up? They're gone, and anyone else who can't meet the standard we're setting going forward will be too. Maya raised her hand slightly. So what now? We still have a camp full of mouths to feed. Now we rebuild, proper staffing, proper oversight, and a system where you're not afraid to speak up. There were no cheers. Just a collective breath like someone had finally let tension out of a stretched wire. That night, the lentil dinner went out hot, seasoned, and on time. Campers barely noticed the change. Counselors ate gratefully. Quinn stood near the back wall of the dining hall, watching dishes go out, trays come back empty. Maya came up beside him. I didn't think you'd actually follow through. I didn't come to make promises. She nodded, then added, you should have come sooner. He didn't try to defend himself. You're right. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. He stayed until the last tray was washed, the last spoon dried. Tomorrow, more changes would come. But for the first time in days, the kitchen was quiet in a way that didn't feel dangerous. It just felt ready. The following week began with a clipboard, a checklist, and a pair of steel-toed boots. Quinn walked the perimeter of the kitchen with the newly hired food operations manager, a woman named Carla Reyes. She had 20 years of institutional food service experience, schools, hospitals, disaster relief kitchens, and carried herself like someone who had seen everything twice. If Maya was the spine that had kept the kitchen upright, Carla was the structural steel now being welded into place. This is salvageable, Carla said, tapping the dry storage door with her pen. But the inventory system has to be rebuilt from scratch. No digital tracking, no batch logging, no supplier accountability. Quinn nodded. Do what you need, you have full authority on site. Carla moved fast. By the end of her first day, she had every shelf relabeled, cold storage reorganized by risk category, and a prep calendar posted on the wall in permanent marker. She didn't ask for help, she delegated. Maya was given oversight of incoming deliveries. Alicia took control of breakfast menus. Zach managed sanitation logs, a task he took on quietly but with visible determination. With Trent gone, the air inside the kitchen shifted in subtle ways. The noise didn't vanish, it changed pitch. Conversation returned, not in bursts of complaint or whispered frustration, but in short, focused exchanges. People asked questions. They corrected each other. They started to act like a team. Quinn kept his presence minimal, observing from a distance. The only time he stepped in directly was when he noticed a boy from the maintenance crew trying to take a shortcut through the back prep area. Hey, he said, cutting him off. That hallway's off limits unless you're in a hairnet and gloves. The boy rolled his eyes. It's just faster. I'm not asking. He didn't argue again. By midweek, the health inspector arrived. A woman in her 50s with a flat expression and a handheld tablet, she moved through the kitchen with the precision of a surgeon. Carla trailed her, answering every question before it was fully asked. When she paused to test the grill's new handle, she gave a small nod. This is the first camp kitchen I've walked into this summer that didn't leave me nervous, she said. I'll take that as a win, Carla replied, then turned to Maya. Let's keep it that way. Across the campgrounds, word had spread. Staff from other departments started poking their heads in, asking about leftovers, volunteering to help with dish shifts, even requesting recipes. One counselor brought in herbs from the camp garden. Alicia worked them into a pasta salad that disappeared before second lunch rotation even began. Quinn spent Thursday morning reviewing the financials. 3 unauthorized payments had been processed through Julian 2 from the same off-book vendor, one from a transportation company that didn't match any invoice on file. He sat across from the new interim district operations lead, a tall man named Reggie, who'd been pulled from another region with a spotless audit history. These weren't mistakes, Quinn said, sliding the printouts across the table. He bypassed protocol and concealed it. Reggie studied the documents in silence. Terminations already in motion, Quinn added. I want to recertify every manager at every site before the next session begins. Full compliance training, no exceptions. I'll coordinate it, Reggie said. And I'll audit the rest. By Friday, the kitchen was running like it belonged to someone who'd cared about it all along. Quinn met Meyer outside the walk-in freezer after lunch. She was tying off a trash bag, sleeves rolled to her elbows, clipboard tucked under one arm. There was a quiet steadiness to her now, not relief, not pride, just clarity. You've done more than I asked, Quinn said. I didn't do it for you. I know. She set the bag down. Carla wants me to stay on after the summer, full time. She says I've got a head for systems. You do. I told her I'd think about it. I was planning to go back to school in the fall. You can do both. I'll cover your tuition if you stay part-time during the semester, remote work, system compliance projects, whatever fits, she blinked. You'd really do that? You've earned more than a paycheck. She didn't say anything for a moment, then nodded once. I'll think about it. Quinn turned toward the dining hall. The sounds of dinner prep were already starting, the hiss of a skillet, the clatter of trays being stacked. One of the younger kitchen aides, a boy named Theo who'd barely spoken all week, passed him on the way in and gave him a quiet nod. It wasn't much, but it was something. Trust, rebuilding itself 1 inch at a time. Later that evening, Quinn stood near the fire pit with Reggie and Carla while the campers roasted marshmallows nearby. The smell of wood smoke and vanilla sugar lingered in the air. Carla took a sip from her thermos. I've run kitchens in flood zones that had more structure than what we walked into here. But, Quinn asked, but this team, they've got grit. I've seen teams break over less. They didn't break, Reggie said. They bent hard, but they didn't snap. Quinn watched as Zach handed out skewers to a group of kids, showing one how to turn her slowly so it wouldn't burn on one side. Alicia sat nearby with a notebook, adjusting next week's menu. Maya, for once, was nowhere in sight. A good sign. She was probably taking her first real break in weeks. Quinn exhaled slowly. I should have come earlier. I won't make that mistake again. Carla gave a small nod. Then you're ahead of most. The fire crackled. A counselor strummed a guitar. Somewhere beyond the trees, a bell rang to signal the end of free period. Quinn didn't move. He stayed by the fire until the last ember dimmed, watching the night settle gently over a camp that had finally begun to heal.